Hey everyone, we're back. This time I'm in the driver's seat. I'm Lisa Van Tonder, and now I have the pleasure of getting to ask Sarah questions. And now today I'm hoping she'll take us on her purpose journey and share with us a little bit about where, when, how, why, how it all began, what triggered this, what activated it. So, how about that?
Yeah, so for me, I have always had a feeling that I had this inner purpose and was destined to do something larger with my life than just exist and go through the motions. But I think the moment that really triggered me, so to speak, when I was like, okay, I can't wait any longer. This is a puzzle I have to figure out, was when I had my daughter.
Yeah.
When I had my daughter, she was my first child. So I have my daughter and my son. She's now 6 and he's 4. But when she was born, I was working a job I didn't love, and I was doing it for the money and the benefits. And I knew that it wasn't like I wasn't going to stay there until retirement, but I was delaying my purpose and all of that. And when I had her, it just became apparent, like, I can't live my life this way because I just cannot show her that this is an acceptable way of living, because I didn't want to be the mom that was like in my 50s or 60s and then seeing my daughter live this way. Like, I wanted to make sure that I saw my children growing up and choosing happiness over, not even like over money. I'm trying to think of like over going with the status quo.
Yeah.
You know,
Can I ask you, along those lines, were you raised that way?
yes. I don't, I'm always cautious about, I know people are always curious, wanting to know your story, but I'm always cautious about sharing those sort of things because I know that when I share them, it's from my perspective, and I'm always kind of afraid like my parents will see the video and be like, that is not what it was, Sarah. Because of course they have their own perspective, right?
Yeah.
No, and it's fine. Like, theirs is just as correct as mine is. But yes, I was raised that way. My mom delayed herself in discovering her purpose and that sort of stuff because she chose to raise us first. And part of that process of raising us was babysitting and going back to school for nursing and things like that that were more intended for creating financial stability for the family and giving us the opportunities we needed throughout school and stuff like that than it really was about her being happy. And I don't know if my dad would agree with me, but I feel the same way about his career. The story I've always been told is that he didn't know what he wanted to do when he was getting out of high school, and he had a teacher that just said, I think you would be great at this. And he just said, okay, and just went to school for it and does it. I think there's some level of enjoyment there with him for what he does, but I think it's still largely motivated by creating that financial stability and that lifestyle that he wants rather than having an actual passion.
Yeah, that's just a common theme from my life. Yeah.
I think it's so normal when you talk to so many people, especially like when you think about our parents' generation, because we're very similar in age. They were like just coming out of that generation where everybody just worked. Like, it wasn't even a thought of what do I want to go to college to be. It was just, I'm done with school at 14, 16, or 18, and what's available in this town for me to work at.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, they were like, to me anyway, when I look back at my own family and stuff like that, they were like that first generation to really start stepping into, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so now share with us when you started exploring that side for yourself.
Yeah, so when I first started exploring it, it was all about personal development. It was just getting back in touch with me because I didn't really know who I was. And I was feeling a sense of depression, really, because I knew that I was living for everyone else's expectations. And I didn't really know what I wanted. I just knew that this wasn't really my choosing. So I started with the Louise Hay You Can Heal Your Life stuff, and just starting to learn about how much my thoughts were creating what was going on in my life and learning how to shift those. As I went along with this, you know, I started to develop my intuition. So then it became much easier to find the tools that helped me on my journey, right? Because then I could trust myself. And I wasn't always looking for teachers. I was looking to myself as well to just receive the information from source. And I ended up getting to a point about 2 years ago or so where I was introduced to human design. And that was an amazing program. And that's one of the reasons I use it with my clients now. Because it gives you such a good snapshot of like who you are and who you came to be. And then that journey even expanded within the last few months of learning gene keys and how that philosophy complements human design. And the reason it complements it is because it takes and it shows you, like, okay, so this is your human design, but here's what it is like on a lower level expression. Here's what it is on, they call it the challenge or something like that. And then the next level is the gift, and then the highest level is the city. So it kind of walks you through like, okay, yes, this is the innate energy your body has. And here's what you can do to transform it into something beneficial for your life and not be stuck in the struggle of it. And that was huge for me because with those tools, you're able to actually look at what your life purpose is. And mine has a whole lot to do with spirituality. It has a whole lot to do with like helping people, I choose women, helping people discover their purpose, and balancing the masculine and feminine, learning the lesson of the fact that the feminine leads and the masculine supports, which is completely backwards from the culture I was raised in here in the United States, at least.
Yeah.
And that's been amazing. It's been amazing stepping into that because the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's what I naturally feel in my body. So it doesn't feel like pushing anymore. It feels like curiosity and discovery and playfulness and those sort of things. So
that sounds like a great switch.
Yeah, so it's been wonderful discovering it because like I said, I started with like just learning, like getting in touch with myself and learning who I am. And so by the time I got to the point where I was bringing these tools in, they were more or less confirming everything I knew on the inside. And it was just very empowering.
And can you share just a little bit? I don't know much about human design and gene keys. I feel like there's a lot to dive into with it, but what would be like the 30,000 foot view of like what it is, what it entails, and how, yeah, start with there. I have another question with that, but start with there.
So the 30,000 foot view of human design, I think, yeah.
Well, how would you describe it to your kids? How about that? Okay, never mind. No,
you're okay. So basically when let's say how I applied it to my kids, because I use their design to work with them.
Okay.
But I don't dive really deep into their design like I do with my own or like with a client. Okay, so that would be like a 30,000 foot view. What I'm looking at is what kind of energy do they have? Do they have constant all day energy? Do they work in spurts? Do they not have their own energy and they feed off of others, so they really need to rest and relax and come back into their own space throughout the day? So I'm looking for things like that.
Birth information, right?
What?
You use birth date information?
Yes, for sure. So
okay.
You use the birth date, time, and place. And the place is just to get the time zone correct. But yeah, so you use that information. It is based in astrology. It pulls in a couple other philosophies and kind of mixes them together. But that's why we pull the birth date information.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at my kids or anyone else, that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, what kind of energy do they have? And I'm also trying to figure out how do they make their best decisions? And the reason that's helpful is some people respond. So you want to ask them yes, no questions. Some people wait for the invitation. So you need to know, like, they're going to be sitting around basically doing, I want to say doing nothing, but not doing nothing. You know, they're going to be doing their own thing until you reach out. Some people are meant to inform, like they're the ones that are here to say, like, get things going. So it's just important to know those kind of things from the 30,000 foot view. As far as Gene Keys goes, one of the things I love about Gene Keys is it's meant to be contemplative. It's meant to be an individual journey. It is not crazy hard to learn. And it is something that when you give it to someone else, you give them the book and ask them to just read the parts that pertain to them. They don't have to read the whole book, but read the keys, Gene Keys that relate to them. And you just contemplate it. You just have that new awareness and watch for how it's showing up in your life, and then just make new choices. It's not, it just feels like a very feminine approach to me. And I love it because it's so gentle.
Can you share what it was like when you read yours and how that sort of evolved for you?
So enlightening. So there is a pattern with your Gene Keys that ends up going through, well, it goes through 11 Gene Keys, but it comes back up to the top. So it's like 12, but the first and last are the same. And so the first one is like the most important thing to learn. And then the second one, when you put the first and the second one together, they're opposites. And they show you what your primary challenge in life is. And it's not a challenge to overcome and not have. It's to recognize that every time you see this challenge coming up, there's something new for you to learn.
Got it. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So it's meant, yeah, to help you. So anyway, my primary thing when I'm out of alignment, when I'm not balancing that masculine and feminine energy I was telling you about, is exhaustion.
Oh,
and I was like, I'm literally walking around telling people I'm exhausted. No wonder. But what's so cool about, I think that's so cool about that versus like the human design is, in human design, they would tell you that you have this Gene Key. They would call it a gate. Okay. And they would say, you know, well, in human design, they call it the gate of family. And they talk about how it's creating communities and stuff. And it is, but Gene Keys gives you a very different perspective on that. And it gives you something to do with it. So if you feel like this isn't me or this isn't something I want, it shows you what to do to get to a higher expression of it so that it is a gift for you.
Yeah.
So that it is something you desire to have. And I just think that is so cool.
Very cool. Okay, another question that comes to mind is, where were you on your journey when you discovered human design and Gene Keys? Like, where do you feel like, what was the next step for you?
So I was already pretty certain on who I was, and I already had my coaching business started. I knew for sure coaching was right for me, that sort of stuff. What I was struggling with was like, what do I want my niche in coaching to be? Like, what is really going on here? What am I meant to teach other people? So I would say pretty far into the journey of discovering my purpose.
Yeah.
And what was cool about it was, like I said, when I discovered those things, basically it took and confirmed everything that I had like a desire to do, but I wasn't sure if I was good enough at, or I wasn't sure if I was meant to do it. You know, like you kind of have that imposter syndrome and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And it was like, no, Sarah, like this is exactly what you're designed to do. This is why you came here. Just step out and do it. So from that point forward, it was more about, how can I boost my confidence? What can I do to step into this gracefully and like be okay with it? I don't know if I want to say be okay or be comfortable with it, but do you know what I mean? Like embrace it as a gift instead of being like afraid of it, like, whoa, this is super powerful and I'm not sure if I'm ready for it, but just jumping into it.
And now how do you feel having this information and moving forward?
I feel like a sense of peace. I feel like I have like a foundation in my life, something to go back to. Like now I like know who I am. And so even if I get into situations like with other people who aren't recognizing me or recognizing my gifts, um, it doesn't turn into me questioning myself. It just turns into me recognizing, oh, wait, they're not on the same level as me. And so they're just not recognizing it. And that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, not that their level has to be lower or higher than me. It's just, you know, it's a different level. And so they're not getting it. And there's no sense of me wasting my time on this. I'll accept them for who they are. And I still trust and know who I am and the power that I bring.
Awesome. Beautiful. Incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you want to share?
You know, I think I just really want to say that this process is really beautiful and transformative, and it should be fun. Like, there are points where your human side really wants to describe it as painful. And there's parts where you think you're stuck. But the more you can just embrace it and know that these are lessons that are coming up for you because you're ready to face them, it doesn't feel so much like a roller coaster anymore. It just feels like an unfolding. Like, it just feels like a beautiful process. And it's not a process that ends. And I'm actually pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
I was definitely trying to reach the destination.
Right.
And now I realize there isn't one, and that's okay. So I think that's what I would say is sometimes I talk to women who, you know, are so unhappy and they're just trying to figure out like how to get from point A to point B. And it's like, it's not that.
Yeah. So that's so huge because, I mean, even I know, I mean, how many times did you hear it's the journey, not the destination? And you'd be like, oh, but I want the destination. Like, I don't want to hear you say that. I think that that's such a common thing.
That's something that's super powerful with human design. Not human design, excuse me. Well, it could be, but gene keys is really what I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Is when you know that main gene key for you and you know what the highest expression is of it, that's essentially your destination in each moment. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Okay, so then and it gives you that sense of alignment. So wait, is this what I'm feeling? Is this my overarching feeling? Yes, okay, we're on the right path. And it does give you a sense of peace and a sense of, I want to say like being at home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's super powerful. And I'm really excited to start sharing more and more of it with women. So far, I have mostly used human design with people, but with the new group that we're opening up in July, I am totally planning on exposing everyone who's willing to Gene Keys.
Yes.
Just being like, get started. You're going to love this shit.
Well, I think we have a lot more information to share on that coming up.
Yeah.
And for now, today, I think us just learning more about your journey and your process and getting to Gene Keys and human design was really inspiring. And yeah.
So for me, my process has been very internal. And when you start looking at someone's human design, some people, it's not as internal as others, but, and I'm sure you can relate because we both have the 1-3 profile, which we'll talk more about that in a future live. But it has been a very internal process. So a lot of mine has been behind the scenes. And just reaching out to coaches or therapists or just anything, you know, like maybe conferences or things like that when I need that new piece of information or that help getting that next puzzle piece. But for the most part, it's my journey, you know, and so I'm glad that we're having this opportunity to talk about it because I don't talk about it enough. Mm-hmm. Because it has been such an introspective and personal journey. I forget that people are like, hey, how did you do that? and want to know, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that'll be our next topic next week.
Yeah.
Moving more and sharing a little bit about how someone can learn more about themselves through human design.
Yeah, that could be really fun.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. That's it for today, I think.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you soon.